And now, as I already promised before, we have the cherry on top for today, for Vihren Ho. And you already see Sara on my left, who was waiting eagerly for this moment. And just to tell you a little bit more about her, she quite impressive. I'm reading just because I want to get it right, that she's the only woman in the world who holds both the Enterprise Coaching Expert credential and the Professional Scrum Trainer with scrum.org. And she's also a professional ICF coach. So this is quite some experience and quite some dedication to the topic. This is like a round of applause for that alone. And Sara doesn't only use that. She uses her voice, you hear it, to inspire people to bring them and their true capacity forwards. In her session, she will show us how leadership is not about power, but about service. Please help me welcome Sara Davidsson.
Thank you. Well, I'm starting with the woman in the mirror. I'm asking her to change her ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. Здравейте. Hello, everyone. You have just decided to join a workshop about being that excellent leader who serves. So you put quite some high expectations for that, because we're going to go through a lot and we only have 60 minutes. And this is not a workshop where you are going to work together in groups. Actually, you're not even going to talk to each other yet. This work is all about your internal system. And I'm going to guide you through how we're going to work with that, with you in the start. All of you have been given a paper, and most of you have pen or have pen come along. Feel free to use that. Note down. It won't be perfect. However, what's the difference between perfect and good enough anyway? Note down the things that I can guide you through. Get it started. That's all that matters. Getting into movement. Okay? So we're going to slow it down a little bit, because you have entered a workshop of doing very deep work with yourself. That is why you're here. The moment you entered in here, you probably saw me, or maybe I've seen it before, and immediately you start telling yourself stories. But they are only stories that you're telling yourself based on your context, based on your experience, and based on everything you have known up to now. When I started to sing, you probably started to add to that story, or you told yourself another story of who I am. Now let me say like this, who am I really? Just so you know who you have in front of you. I've been flying here from Sweden. That is where I'm from. I am trained within human resource management and therefore behavioral science. So that is what I have a bachelor degree within. However, my first job after my graduation was as a singer. I always wanted to become a singer. Back in 2012, I became one of 3 IT project management trainees. And the first week they said, we're going to introduce you to Agility and Scrum. And I said, what is that? But from that moment, it made so much sense, because it's all about becoming better at dealing with change. And it's all about you, yet it got nothing to do with you at all. I became a professional Scrum trainer at scrum.org, as in the introduction, and I became an enterprise coach at expert level, which I am the first and so far only woman in the world to obtain. And I go share on you women, you can do that. Keep going, right? I love listening to people and their stories. There is so much humbleness in being invited into when people explore their own true capacity without being judged, without being evaluated. Just you, yourself, and who you want to be. I became an ICF PCC coach. I've coached quite a lot of hours. And frankly, I've coached a lot of persons. Leaders. Backstage, well, I live with my partner. He and I, we have 2 beautiful daughters who also get to taste a little bit about this coaching. And for those of you who see, there is also a little tiny angel dog. His name was Freddie, and he passed a bit more than 4 years ago. But you know, I miss him so much every day. But who I am, is that even important? Or is it more important who I want to be tomorrow? Who do I want to be? Well, I want to be a bold, bright ballerina. I would like to work with humanization in every organization I bring, and I do that on every level. From strategy to operational. I want to be a woman of the world. There is a certain place for women who do not stand together, and I do the complete opposite, and I cheer you all to do the same. We are way much stronger together. I want to be a voice for the heart of enterprises. And who are the heart, if not the teams? Bring that to management. Did I? Or did I go too far away?
Let's try again.
Oh. Did I go too far? I can get it back. So, okay.
No.
Awesome. Okay. So, enough about me, because most likely I'm the least important person in this room, because this is all about you, right? You're going to do your internal work. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through a little bit of agreement of what we actually are challenged by in this world as we speak. And we're going to check in with yourself. Then we're going to start with the story you are telling yourself. And then we're going to define which emotions you connect to that. There is a true power of being able to articulate the emotions we are feeling and realize that we are a difference and how we detach from the emotions. We're going to create a meta for one in different ways. Then we had to goal and why. If we want to become something better for tomorrow and be that excellent leader who serves. Then we go the opposite way. We create a meta for two. Then we create a new story that you can choose to tell yourself today as you leave. And what you can do tomorrow. Because this is all a choice. And it's never too late to change. Then we put the power of emotions back in place. Then we go to the end. But, you know, the end, it's just the beginning. And we can always choose to begin again. Are you okay with that? Yeah. All right. Before that, I would like to ask, and if I asked you to name all the things that you love, how long would it take for you to name yourself? How long? Yeah. Huh? Oh, we come pretty low down at times, right? Well, you know when we're flying, who do they always say that we should put the mask on first? Yourself. So let's start with that. Okay, rise to the occasion. First picture, it's a planet. I'm going to be very serious because we know that we are facing a true crisis when it comes to excellent leadership. We need to rise to that occasion. To our knowledge today, there is no planet B yet. Yeah? As you do the work, you see there is a crowd of people, right? Even though you are a super important person. But it is collectively when we actually find a way together with that in mind that we can rise to the occasion and affect the human systems. in our organizations and affected towards the world. And I can't stay with anything less. And I'm sure as you're sitting here right now, you are probably not either. The doors. As you do this work that I'm going to guide you through, you're going to encounter, I see doors within myself. I invite you to open those doors, even though you don't think you have the courage to. However, your thinking is not helpful. Reflection, however, is. And notice the difference. If you don't want to walk through your doors, and I'm never going to force anything to do anything, and you have always the right to pass. What if you just open that teeny tiny door and have a sneak peek? Fourth picture. One of my favorite questions is, if you had no constraints, if you could do anything, but being guaranteed that it won't be negatively affected for anyone else, what would you choose to do? Bring that mindset, because then we open ourselves up. You are not here to be judged. You are definitely not here to be evaluated. You are here to explore your reflections of yourself and the stories you're telling yourself and the emotions you connect towards this. Last picture. Well, we are all human beings trying to be humans. You are another me, and I am just another you. Nothing more, nothing less. Doesn't mean that we come from the same place. Doesn't mean that we have the same histories, but we are still humans. And let be that with that humbleness as we explore ourselves. And that is okay. Are we in agreement that we try to bring this in mind through the exercises? Yeah? Hands up? Yeah? Awesome. All right. Here we go. I want to put you into a state first. And no, I'm not going to hypnotize you. At least I hope not. But I know that some might feel like it's nice to close your eyes. And that's totally fine if you do so. If you're another me, you are probably not, because you definitely want to keep at least one eye open, because you never know, right? But bring your awareness here. You are present, but it's time to actually feel the presence. Yeah? So I want you to notice the fact that you are breathing. Noticing that you are here, not anywhere else, but here. Noticing what you are hearing. I know you're listening to my voice. You're probably noticing that I'm lower that down. Maybe you hear pieces of paper. Maybe you hear technicalities. But notice what you hear. And notice the difference from what you hear from what you actually are listening to. I want you to look around. What do you see? Right from where you are. You see people, maybe someone who smiles at you, knowing how contagious that might be. You might be noticing how this building is today, or you see something else. And whatever that is, just let that be exactly what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Activate what you're smelling in here. Maybe it's perfumes. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's fruit, food, something else. And that's fine. Noticing how we're lowering down and go from physically being present to embracing a full presence of this space that we are choosing to share with each other right here, right now. This is our system, even though it's a complex adaptive system. And with that, we're going to keep going. This is a story you can tell yourself. And I'm going to give the example from my perspective so you have something to take from. as a leader who serves, because that is what we want to deal with, right? When I think that I need to be a high performer to prove my value, others see me speaking like I'm critical to people's opinions. Doesn't mean that it's my intention, but it might be the impact I have. This occurs where the environment is hierarchical, where the culture is heavily based on achievements. Well, this story isn't just taken randomly. Let me break it down to how it actually is constructed. When I think, all this is from an integral perspective, when I think something in your mindset about yourself as a leader, try to note that down. That is me individually, internally. No one, and I can promise you, no one can see what you're thinking. You're absolutely free. So I'm noting down what I'm thinking, individually, internally. Others see me. Then I go to an observable behavior. I'm still on me, but it's externally. Someone else sees how I behave. That becomes very tangible. Where the environment is, I point towards organizational structure. That is collectively, and it's definitely externally, because that is tangible too. When you're into your organizations and enterprises, what structure is this in? And then I go to the culture, and I love culture, because people think that is so fluffy, and yet that is so tangible. Still, it's internally, yet collectively. Take a minute. I have been writing the instructions up here. Note some words that comes to mind, and remember, don't bring the perfect sentences, because this is quite a lot of work, and we only have an hour, right? Write down for yourself, when I think, what is it I think that I think? What do others see me do? Where is the environment? And what about the culture? So I'm going to read it through once more. And while you're writing this down, and this is just for you, not to be discussed with anyone else right now. That makes you completely free. You don't even have to show what you're writing to anyone else. This is just you. Just you doing some work. So I'm going to read mine up again. When I think that I need to be a high performer to prove my value, and oh boy, what you see in front of you is definitely someone who tried to be perfect. Others see me speaking like I'm critical to other people's opinions. Intention and impact, completely different. At times. This occurs where the environment is hierarchical, where the culture is heavily based on achievements. So the background for this, I wanted to climb. I wanted to be the best, and I wanted to be perfect. Turns out, I'm definitely perfect, perfectly unperfect. So you're writing some notes down. And just be. And you always have the right to pass. If you don't want to write now, that's fine too. You can choose to do this later. I believe you will get the slides. And if not, you can always connect with me. You can get them anyway. So you can do that. There is nothing as beautiful as socializing in silence together, right? Never underestimate the power of silence in the right circumstances. Silence to me means reflection. All right, I'm gonna get going. Feel free to tag along as we go. How does the story you are telling yourself make you feel? Have you ever encountered an emotional wheel? Hands up. Yeah? Okay, awesome. For everyone else, this is our emotions. And I'm going to take a very common example. I am angry. When you tell yourself that you're angry, because that is all about the story you're telling yourself, you have combined yourself with your full emotion. And trust me, you are way more than just an emotion. I am feeling angry. I put the emotion aside because I'm way more than just that. So I'm telling myself that I'm feeling. Now we're going to take this a third step further. I am noticing that I'm feeling frustrated. That is 3 different stories I can tell myself, and that will invite and enable myself for different outcomes. When I can articulate the emotions I truly feel, I enable myself to invite and ask for the support I need, even though if that support is just being in the wave of emotions, because it's just a wave. An emotion will pass. And there are no wrong emotions. There is nothing wrong with feeling some kind of angriness, whatever nuance of word that is. It's not wrong to feel jealous or anything. It's just within you. It invites you to give a chance to act upon that feeling, though, but that is a different thing. So what I do with this, we just created our first story, right? So in my case, I took, it makes me feel bad, the story I'm telling myself. But that is not enough because you see, I'm going after to be perfect, right? Makes me feel stressed. And at the end, actually, a nuance of stress is I'm noticing that I'm feeling overwhelmed. Because it's going to be pretty much work if I'm going to be so perfect, right? So I'm noticing that I'm feeling overwhelmed. I want you to find the real feeling, the emotion that was ignited in you as you wrote your own story. So take a few seconds and just start from the middle and you walk away. And it's okay to feel several. Maybe something that doesn't even stand here. That's okay too. Be kind to your mind. So we create a story. We put a name for the emotion that a story we're telling ourselves actually created. Now we're getting somewhere, right? Story we're telling ourselves and our emotion. So write down your emotion, just for yourself. And we will get back to this one. Yeah? Third part. Let's define what this really is about. The story I'm telling myself, I create or articulate the emotion that story I'm telling myself makes me feel. But now it's time to take it even further. We're going to define the current way of being. And I use a metaphor for that. The professional performance princess. I can't help but wonder how many people in here actually thought that about me when you saw me first. It's okay. I like to use visuals. So, of course, I bring a perfect AI version. Yeah, well, we're not really that alike, but that's how good I was at prompting, right? And for my depth, I love music, right? Singing is to my core. If you ever want to get really deep and connect with me, you will probably send a song and have thought through the lyrics you're actually sending. And to me, it is the song from Ellie Goulding, Woman. And it goes, part of that, I faced my fears till I made it here. And now I don't know where to stand. But I know it's not over if I'm losing touch. If I love too much, I just leave it up to chance. Because that's just the woman I am. Oh, thank you. Write down a metaphor if whatever comes to mind, or if it is a song that comes to mind immediately, write that song down. Or if it actually is a visual of something, maybe it is a movie or an art, whatever first came to mind, what actually symbolizes your current way of being? Write it down for yourself. I know it's tough work, and I know it might require some reflections. So this is just to get you started. So be kind to your mind. I will say that often. When you have something that guides you forward, then it's time to actually define, it will serve me better if I do less of. In my case, being critical to people's opinions. It will serve me better if I do less of getting distracted by fear. I was just telling someone right before here, like, what if no one shows up? That was my fear. And yet, I do it anyway. It will serve me better if I do less of showing up neutral, no matter the topic. And for a few years ago, when I went into clients, you could probably see my neutral face looking like this. This was my standard. You have no chance to read my face. I promise you. And I don't even have Botox, right? Write down. Don't overachieve here. You don't have to write like 5 things or 10 things. If you can get it to 1 thing, what will serve you better to do less of? That's going to be good enough. I picked 3. But we are not here to compare towards each other. We are not competing. We're only trying to be a better myself than I was yesterday. But instead of focusing on how I was yesterday, I want to focus on how I want to be tomorrow. Because what I mentioned, even though my intention of my behaviors is something, it might have a completely different impact that I didn't intend it. So intention might be damned, right? However, it's not over there. If you're going to be that excellent leader who serves, you take the chance of taking the impact you created and you show up with that, with accountability towards what that ever looked like. And sometimes it sounds like, I'm sorry. I don't know this yet. I am trying to learn. Can you support me in that journey? Vulnerability deluxe, but a trait of an excellent leader. So as we go, put down the metaphor, visual or whatever, and it will serve me better if I do less of. Get that down. So I'm going to stay here a little bit as I notice that you are reflecting, which I love way more than thinking. Because let's be straight, thinking, pointless. Just mess things up. Or risks of. Okay. Let's move on to that work. Well, I want to be something else. And if I want to be something, I need to have a target. Let's call it goal. And I need to know why I'm doing this. My goal is to align my head, heart, and gut, our 3 intelligences, to create a balance of feeling presence in life. Piece of cake. Maybe for some of you. But I've been practicing very hard for that. Because I was always either in the history or in the future, but basically anywhere but in the present. So I also rob myself the opportunity of feeling a slightly glimpse of happiness, which we're not even wired to feel for longer periods of time. This is important to me because I want to enable my true capacity and use my voice for what really matters for the impact of greater good. Yeah, that's a pretty tough target, right? I want to make that impact so we can, for my children, for your children, and for everyone who comes after us, live slightly better. We don't have to save all things, but we can contribute with a teeny tiny step in a direction for our humanity and human kindness. And that is something that is so close to my heart. I want people to be able to feel better collectively. So this is your turn. Write down what could be your goal. And remember, it just have to be a starting point. Maybe there's a word that comes to mind or a feeling. What if that feeling is something you dreamt about when you were a kid? Or something you think, I have no chance of doing that because of this and this and this and this. Remember our agreements. What if you could? What would you do with the capacity you really have? And why is that important? What makes this important to you? And this is not for you to convince anyone else about your journey. This is about you coming together with others. And it doesn't have to be the entire world thing. It could be something completely else as well. Maybe it got to do with exercise or be something else, but something that aligns towards your system you, so you can enable your version to thrive tomorrow. Okay, are you feeling good? Yes. Yeah, just checking in to see. Okay, so now we're gonna twist it around a little bit because now we're focusing on tomorrow. Or immediately after this session, perhaps, we're going to create our new way of being. And to me, as I mentioned in the beginning, my metaphor is a bold, bright ballerina. Not that I have ever danced ballet or something, because this symbolizes something else. Head, heart, and gut. Balance. And being present in life. And feeling the presence, right? And you know that? Frozen 2? That is a song for me. Show yourself, I'm dying to meet you. Show yourself, it's your turn. Are you the one I've been waiting for all of my life? Oh, show yourself, I'm ready to learn. Which song ignites for you? Write down a metaphor or a visual or an art or music or whatever creative that comes to mind. What symbolizes your new way of being? Then we had 2. It will serve me better if I do more of. Oh, I think I'm going to stop here a little bit because I see that some of you are really down to the exercise of this. New way of being. Am I in the way? And it doesn't have to be all letters that they were starting with the same, like bold, bright ballerina. I mean, I have spent hours, probably way more, to identify this for me. Okay? All right. It will serve me better if I do more of. Okay, time to identify behaviors again. It would serve me better if I do more of fearlessly explore with curiosity questions. Instead of being critical to people's opinions, I can use my armor of asking questions. Out of curiosity, as from my perspective, but also from interest, which would mean our mutual perspectives of interest. It would serve me better if I do more of radiant presence. Right now, I'm not in the history, and I'm certainly not in the future. I'm right here and right now, and I'm embracing the entire moment of being here in the beautiful city of Sofia in Bulgaria. It would serve me better if I do more of show up with joyful and passionate expression. I don't have to bring my neutral face unless I perhaps facilitate, because then I, by the core, have to be very neutral. But I am allowed to use my mimic. I am allowed, and I'm allowing myself, giving myself permission to show what I'm feeling. If anyone else would have a challenge with that, that would be your accountability. So write down, what will serve me better if I do more of? At least just maybe some words that you can work on later on. We feel like this came to mind. Grab it. Don't look for the perfect word. Take the one that actually comes. Even though I really hoped it was going to be another word. Let that go. For now. Some writing. I see. Awesome. So we're going to create a new story because we have identified what is our goal. We know our why. And we created a new way of being. So now we come back to the story we were telling each other before, or for ourselves. But this time it's going to be connected for who I really want to be. When I think that I can balance my head, heart, and gut, others see me showing up fearlessly with radiant presence. This occurs with environment, to be honest, regardless. Because when did we ever stop being human beings when we entered into organizations? I hear a lot of people talk, I'm one person at home, and I'm one person when I go into the organization. And you think you might be, but what if you could actually bring your whole self, but utilizing it slightly differently? What would that do for the authenticity? Where the culture is humane. Because if it is not, then I'm gonna leave. Because I don't want to be there. Yeah? So it's your turn. Write your new story. When the new way of being connected to your goal and to your why. And this is our new story. As a leader who serves, which you all are. You are not that just because of a definition from a Scrum Master, Agile Coach, Manager, CEO, Executive, Director, VP, Product Owner, Architect, whatever title you might identify yourself with. Or just human being leading myself. Write down your story. From an integral perspective, both individually, internally, and collectively, externally. We take the full circle here. And remember, what's the difference between perfect and good enough anyway? Just get started. Done beats perfect. Started might beat perfect too. The stories we are telling ourselves. Knowing we are telling ourselves stories the entire time. In this workshop, we're doing it with ourselves. But what when we're doing it with everybody else we encountered? When we're noticing the story we're telling ourselves, we take accountability for what impact we would like to create. Yeah, I know. It's getting deep, right? Deep water. And you're here for a reason. All right. So we have started on the new story I'm telling myself. Now, try to think about the story you just created. How does this story make you feel? You start from the core. And from my perspective, I'm starting to feel happy, but not for long, because we're not wired for that, as I mentioned. I'm noticing that I'm feeling powerful. Not gonna be enough. I'm noticing that I'm actually feeling creative, because now I'm giving myself the opportunity of how I want to show up and who I want to be tomorrow. And I might not have everything figured out yet, but I'm ready to learn and try as I go. And when I fail, which I do all the time, I keep going for my belief in something more. Now that might sound easy when I say it like that. So let me give you a real picture. What you see right here in front of you is not just all of the stories you are telling yourself that you think that I am. I feel anxiety, mostly times during the 24/7. I carry a lot of grief. I'm constantly afraid of not being included, or being excluded too. I'm afraid that I'm feeling afraid that I'm not going to belong, that I'm not going to fit into your story, so I can't play that part. This is one phase of anxiety. And I keep going. The story I'm telling myself, and how does that make me feel? Is it easy? No. Crap, no. But despite that constant fear, it's the definition of courage to keep going anyway. For a few years ago, I would probably never even consider traveling alone to another country, because I had never until a few years ago. So I'm going to just take this moment and just embrace this, that I'm here, which I never could imagine. And I've loved every minute of it, even though it all met me with heavily rain. Identify emotion and write it down. Is there anyone who can just share their emotion? Just shout it out. Confident. Love it. Inspired. What else? Over. Proud. Courageous. Optimistic. Creative. Okay. Huh? Free. Thankful. Do you notice the difference from the story you were telling yourself before? How does this feel for you? To have just created a new story and allowed yourself to feel something differently, and all you actually did was just changing the words. Pretty powerful, huh? Imagine what you can do with that when you go back to your organizations and you ignite this, first in yourself, and then you ignite this in others. And noticing that it's just a story you're telling yourself, a story no one doesn't even see that you're telling yourself. So even though we can go and feed our brains with a lot of story, like, oh, it's not going to work, and it's not going to be this, and that's going to be this, what if it actually does become? Or as in my way, as I told before, I was feeling afraid that someone not going to show up. What if someone actually do show up in this workshop? What if here is at least one of you who's going to take this to heart and change the world for something better? Then I break even. If you are 2, yay. Anything else is just a bonus. For whatever you choose to do with this and release your true capacity without affecting the well-being. You can choose to tell your story and no one doesn't even know. But it will be shown when you enter as the leader who serves. Because people will look to you, what you do. And what you allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to be a human being. That's in the end exactly what we are, wherever we are coming from. You can still change your story. It is just a reflection away. That's not much, right? Think about that when you go into a new client or you go into a store. They have no idea if you can afford to actually buy the Hermes bag or anything, right? It is just in your head. Your power. And you need to remember that. And notice how I'm playing with words. I will not say, don't forget, remember. And use the difference and the power of word and how we verbalize what we want to achieve. You are accountable for you. Other people are accountable for themselves. Even though, if you are a Scrum Master, for example, you have an accountability. However, as a leader who serves in general, you are just accountable for you and how you choose to show up to the impact you create. Whatever that might look like. And it is okay. Even though you might feel you're completely vulnerable. As in I'm sorry. And stay silent. Don't talk it away. That is being really present. Not just physically, but you're allowing someone to feel that presence. Be kind to your mind. Because in a world of today with that constant information and how we compare ourselves with everyone else, at times, some more or less. But what if you only try to compare with yourself on how you were yesterday and how you choose to show up today? Well, today was not a good day. I had a really bad day. Well, you know what? That is okay too. You are just a human being. And tomorrow you're back on track. You can change the world tomorrow. Or you change for your team, of your program, agile release train, your entire organization. And you invite change in for constantly becoming better at dealing with change. How are you feeling right now? Yay. Yay. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Motivated. Confident, relaxed. Mm-hmm. Roast. Grounded. Mm. Human. Oh, I love that. Because that is what we are. Human beings trying to be humans. And we go around in our corporates every day. But it's just another me and I'm just another you. Often I used to tell myself when I start, can I really operate on those levels with these, they're having so fancy titles? And the stories I was telling myself, do I really dare? But then again, why shouldn't I dare? What if I actually challenge things? And what if it actually turned out they are just human beings after all, with feelings, with tears? And that is totally fine. It's so good that there's a lot of people who should get out more tears at times and release emotions, or whatever that looks like. I go for training. Yeah. Okay. You feeling okay with your stories? Mm-hmm. Then I'm going for the end. And we're going to open up if you have some questions or if you want to elaborate anything. Be the excellent leader who serves. Own your story. This is you, but we are all in this together. Even between Sweden and Bulgaria. Remember that. And if you ever need to be reminded about the fact that now I'm feeling alone, write that to me. I will write something back, because you should not feel like that. Not for long. You will pass that through. If you ever want to feel and share that story, because now you have started to do that work, feel free to send that story and tell me. What story did you tell yourself? Or which story would you like to tell yourself? And of course, I treat that with confidentiality. But just for your benefit, for the fact of we are doing this together, right? Okay. Any questions? Or any elaborations? Here's a question. There. No? Just a sec. Can't really hear, but feel free to share so the entire room can.
So you said that you're interested in songs. So I have one for you. Emergence by Sleep Token.
I'm sorry?
Emergence
Okay.
by Sleep Token.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for the inspiring stories and metaphors and tools. It was an amazing session. And I'm curious with what you associate the pink dress with this presentation. I'm really curious what's behind this.
Well, pink is my color. You will always see me shine in pink. So whatever I choose to do, everything is more fun when I can have pink in any way. And that has been for many years. So anyone who really knows me, I always get dressed in pink, and that is me. I think that makes me slightly happier to see this color, and that's why it's stuck with me, because sometimes I really just need to be reminded about that. At least, even if I'm feeling very low. I think I said this yesterday to someone. Even though I'm feeling very low, I can at least just look gorgeous, right? Nope. Being neutral. You still have a question?
Yes.
It's here in front.
My question is, how do you connect the exercise to the aspect of the servant leader? So that was not totally clear to me.
Okay. I will always emphasize leaders who serves. Instead of servant leadership from the 70s, I want to emphasize the leadership part. And you are here to serve. And if you can serve yourself first, then you can serve for others, right? So the more you do your inner work yourself, that is when you also can support others in their journey. Make sense? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. When you think about how other people sees you, and this is probably an assumption, so how did you validate this?
How I validate?
Yes.
Well, I have been courageous enough to ask people before. But also realizing that sometimes I've been sharing with people, like the story I'm telling myself right now is that this is what you see in me. And they go, no, that is not. Okay, I'm wrong. Can you help me understand? And then I get another story, because often it's just stories I make up, right? So, but I try to ask, because then I can also get, and then I've been doing a lot of work, 360, several parts, and get people to see me from different lenses. What if it's not? I'm trying to come up with if I have an example of that. Then I guess it's me playing in my head, and it feeds the anxiety. Yeah, which makes me binge watch Netflix and eating crisps. Thank you. Did I just say that out loud? However, I'm just a human being, right? And I'm trying to do what I can. Perfectly imperfect. Okay. Any other questions? Or we round up?
Maybe they will come afterwards.
And that's
in
fine too.
private.
You see me. Well, thank you very much for sharing this with me. Thank you for being here.